Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Adrian Weather Forecast. This is going to be a tropical update here for the Atlantic. We don't have major updates as the Invest 95L has formed just off the coast of Africa. The National Hurricane Center has updated to a 20% chance for the next 5 days. Really monitoring this very closely. A lot of people are saying this won't be anything. The only thing that's really the threat is dry air. Wind shear is not a threat. Neither is the cold SSTs. Only thing is the dry air. That's the big threat here. That's really the only threat. So the thing is, if this develops a moisture bubble, which is doing right now, maybe it could keep the dry air out, and that maybe it could possibly form into Josephine. I'm not saying it's going to form, but really have to keep an eye on this area to watch, obviously. We have a couple updates left to go, see if models continue to show it. GFS does, a couple models don't. We're going to be monitoring this very closely here on whether we can have our J storm here. So really monitoring this extremely closely as conditions aren't too unfavorable, but they're not super duper favorable as well. So it's going to be a close call. Going to continue to monitor this very closely. Before we get the video though, please subscribe if you're new. Try to hit that subscribe button if you really love tropical forecasts as well. Also, hit the post notification icon so you get notified as soon as I do a daily forecast. And also, be sure to like the video if you have not already done so. I want to see all your awesome support. Without further ado, let's get this tropical update. So here's a look at the National Hurricane Center. As you see here, we have our Invest 95. This actually might cover my face if you guys don't see. So yeah, actually, it's not going to cover my face. All right. Well, let me actually move my screen here a little bit then. Alright, so as you see, this thing's at a 20% chance for the next 48 hours. Oh my gosh, why is it doing this? Let me move my screen. There we go. So there it is at a 20% chance for the next 5 days. It's at a 20% chance for the next 48 hours as well. So equal chances for the next 5 days and 48 hours. So really could maybe see Josephine very soon if it does play out the way we think it could. Obviously, conditions aren't the most favorable. Obviously, one could be seeing a major system here. But really monitoring this very closely as well as August regular pattern. Really have storms develop right here. And they go like this. This is our normal August pattern here. So really monitoring this very closely. Dryer is the only threat. So if we have a moisture bubble, this storm is good to go. Shear isn't a threat until it gets to the Caribbean, maybe 30 knots maximum. We have perfect SST temperatures here. I don't see a problem really. All this drier to the north and to the west currently, so the moisture bubble could really help it out as it goes more to the west here, but really monitoring it very closely. But let's go check out satellite imagery here, see whether this is looking organized, not organized, see if it's making improvement, see maybe it is closing off. We're going to be looking for LLC if that could very well happen in the next 48 to maybe 60 hours here. Here's a look at satellite imagery. As you see, this isn't the most organized Invest, but as you see, we are seeing some circular cloud cover. It is trying to cover this low pressure. Low pressure is around right there, if you guys can see that last update. We are starting to see some cloud cover starting to circulate around. Obviously, it's not going to be the most organized. Won't be super closed off. It's an Invest. You can't expect much. But as you see, we are starting to see some circular formation of somewhat cloud cover. As you see, we kind of have some banding. We kind of have some type of banding here. Let me actually like that. It's decent, really. It's an Invest. You can't expect much. So I think this is it's decent for an Invest. As you see, the last model run does show it actually starting to close off on this side of the storm here, or this side of the low pressure. So if it closes off right here, a little bit more, and right here, I think this could very well look a lot better. That's the thing. If this is organizing at the rate it is right now, really have to watch out for maybe having Josephine if it does continue to organize at the rate it is right now. There it is right here. Low pressure's right here. It's starting to. I think it's definitely making its way towards the depression. Let me just tell you that it's definitely making its way there. It definitely has. It's getting the formation. Let me just tell you that it's getting the formation. It's really organizing very quickly. It's not the most organized. It's not super closed off to Invest. You can't expect much. We've had depression that look like this. So there it is. A low pressure right there. I see cloud covers continuing to kind of circular and dense up, which could be sign of it actually strengthening, kind of getting it to act together. So really monitoring this very closely, as it could very well be strengthening or organizing at a very fast rate. So this is the thing. If this dryer is all the way up to the north, you can kind of see right here the Saharan dust right here. That's the thing. If it could very well maybe strengthen and become named before the Lesser Antilles, I think it could very well do that. I think this could be named if it continues to organize at the rate it is right now. I think it could be named, possibly not 100%. It's a potential that this could very well become Josephine. Really, obviously, it has a 20% chance right now. Can't say much. One model shows it's still obviously too early to say if it's going to be named or not. But if it's going to be organizing at this rate, it could very well possibly become something very interesting. Here's a look at the SSTs here for the tropical and northern Atlantic. I just want to say that, wow, look at the Gulf. The Gulf is really warming. I know we're not focusing on the Gulf right now. I know we're not. Actually, I think the Gulf isn't out of the picture because if this somewhat survives the dry air, the Eastern Gulf isn't out of the picture, obviously. I know it's all the way over here, an invest. You can't really give it a track. I'm just saying, if it does survive that dry air, and it does head to the east, maybe, GFS is going to the Eastern Gulf, so just maybe if it does go to the Eastern Gulf, that would be a big threat. But obviously, too early to say that, obviously, but I'm just saying, look at these temperatures. Almost 32 degrees Celsius, guys, for the Louisiana coast. This Gulf's absolutely mental. We don't have anything under 29 degrees. We don't have anything under 30 degrees Celsius except for the areas near the Yucatan Peninsula. But we're not focusing on that right now. We're going to be focusing on the area where the storm is going to be the soonest and where it is right now. The tropical Atlantic right here in the MDR, the main developed region. MDR is really becoming a lot more favorable as we are having a strengthening La Nina at this point. A strengthening La Nina in August is really a big threat. We're getting to the La Nina phase really quickly as waters are really cooling off in the El Nino of regions, all the way from 4 to 1. It's crazy. But there we go. This is around right here, or just not too far off the coast of Africa, but it's like right on the coast, like 94L was. Or it was there at some point, but where it is right now is around right there. We got like decent waters. It has to be 26 degrees Celsius or above to withstand a tropical system. We have 27, we have 28 degrees Celsius. Obviously not expecting this to become a hurricane, but I do expect this possibly, it could be named, so maybe tropical storm around this region. I want to extend that. I think this could be named, but around this region, that general area. So it's right here. I think it could very well form within the next 72 by the next 72 hours. I think that's guaranteed. If it becomes named, I think it will definitely be named by the next 72 hours, if not sooner. I think it could very well be sooner. And then there's this whole area right here. This is crazy. It's all this water right here to go. I think this could, if it survives the dry air, that's the thing. If it survives the dry air, I think it could be a big threat for the Western Atlantic based on these water temperatures. We're not going to be seeing any shear in these areas. No dry air. All dry air is kind of in this little area right here. This is where all the dry air is right now. So if it has a moisture bubble and it survives the dry air, I think it could become a big threat from South Carolina to Florida up to areas to Alabama, Mississippi. I think those areas are definitely at a threat if it survives the dry air. I'm not saying it's going to be a big threat right now, 100%. I'm just saying I think it could survive the dry air. I'm not saying it won't weaken. I'm just saying I think this could very well survive the dry air if it has that moisture bubble, which we are expecting it to have. But yeah, that's that. Let's go check out everything else. Obviously, the main concern is a dry air. So we're going to be looking at the SAL, the Saharan air layer, which is the reason why this atmosphere is dry. Obviously, the only reason why we have dry air is because that dust that comes off the Saharan desert with those eastern trade winds. The western trade winds. Let's go and check out what we're seeing here. So this is what we're having right now. So let me actually move my webcam. I don't know why my webcam is always in the way. But look, this storm's right here. This invest is right here. You see the cloud cover? It's south of all this dry air. But let's go ahead and loop around. Let's go ahead and start it. Let's go animate it, shall we? As you see, there it is. It's still moving eastward there. It's starting to, it's still avoiding that dry air. This is where all the dry air is, all right here. So it's still avoiding that dry air in the future coming hours. Let's go ahead and check it out more and more and more. As you see, there's that cloud cover right there, still subject to dry air. Continuing to make its way east. And see, it blows up the convection right there based on that, but still south of that dry air. It has a long way to go. See, it's continuing to make its way to the tropical Atlantic, avoiding that dry air. But will it survive? That's the thing. You see, there's that cloud cover right there. It's heading straight for those areas right there in the Caribbean. But the dry air is starting to block off that general region. Starting to block off this whole area. The thing is, if it's yellow and like an orange, that's actually not that much shear that's actually not that much dry air. Look at this right here. Very little dry air. It's very little if it's in the yellow and orange. It won't survive if it's in here. The thing is, it could very well survive in here. It may be dry. It may be a drier atmosphere compared to moist atmosphere, but look at this. This is rarely any dust whatsoever, really. This is where all the dust is. So if it has that moisture bubble, if it has a kind of convection, circular convection, it has a kind of so-called force field, I think it could survive this, But obviously you gotta continue to monitor and see. Here's a look at another probability of the next 24 hours here. As you see, there it is. That decent probability. I mean, this is like a 50-60% chance to develop. Look at that. Very good probability right there off the coast of Africa. Well, this storm's like right here, right? It's like right here, something like that. Yeah, sure it is. Well, this storm's like right here. So it has two possibilities. As you see, we have another blob after or behind this right there. So if it doesn't form right here, it has a good probability right here. This is like a 20% chance, I believe, or 30% chance. And then this is actually over a 50% chance. So this is actually a good probability here. This is like at around a 9 or 10 based on the third. It's like right here. This is where that is. So that's actually a very good probability of forming. So I think that's over a 60% chance here. So decent probability. This is actually the next 24 hours, 0 to 24 hours here. But really monitoring very closely as probabilities for this developing could be increasing as we saw the Saharan dust. It doesn't affect the dust. It doesn't get near the storm until it actually gets near the Lesser Antilles, and that's plenty of time to become more organized, close off. The thing is, it's not the dry air that's going to be affecting the storm being named. It's if it closes off. Because we saw that the dust doesn't get near this until the Lesser Antilles, and this storm has 700 miles, so that 600. So really good probability this could possibly maybe become a name, Josephine. Let's take a look at the models for GFS. Is basically the only model that actually captures this or kind of sees it surviving. Most of the models, so it having Invest 95L, it's just GFS is the only one kind of showing it surviving, somewhat surviving the dry air. Let's go check out now what we have in the next the next 12 hours here. I actually need to move my screen down so I can see. This is actually the next 12 hours from me. Actually move my screen. So there it is, showing it 1,009 millibars in the next 12 hours, and then we get the next 24 hours. It drops to 1,005, and 1,005 millibars is worthy of a tropical storm central pressure strength, and that's something that you see. It does have that kind of that circular moisture there. Seems like it's closed off there, and then you see it kind of somewhat falls apart there, and then heads towards the Caribbean there. So, it's not showing a major hurricane, not showing a tropical storm, or GFS is. It's just kind of a little too far, obviously, to kind of like rely on the models 100%. CMC here shows the storm, but kind of like shows it dying off right before it, kind of in the middle of the tropical Atlantic. Icon shows this, actually they refreshed right now. Icon showed that blob of moisture, and they kind of like showing it at 1,000 millibars for the next 69 hours. So models aren't really showing the storm being big or whatsoever. Moisture, let's take out the moisture and see the dry air. So look at the storm. Let's see where the storm is right now. Look at that major moisture bubble. This moisture bubble is keeping out all the dry air. Like we saw in the SAL, the dry air is to the west and to the north. As you see, it's all right here. It's a lot of dust. Let me just tell you that. It's a lot of dry air. As you see, there it is. 1,005 millibars in GFS. Keeps that dry air out. And then look, the moisture bubble kind of falls apart a little bit. You can kind of see that, but it kind of redeemed itself. As you see, the dry air really falls apart a lot. It falls apart a ton before the storm comes in. Look at that. Look at what it is right now. and look where it is when the storm kind of passes by. It completely falls apart, which is the reason why I think this storm could very well deal with this dry air. It is dry air, but it's nothing. It's rarely nothing, barely drier compared to average. So if it has a moisture bubble like it has right here, I think it could survive this. A lot of people are doubting the storm. I'm not saying it's be a hurricane. I'm not saying it's gonna be a major system. I'm just saying people are looking at the dryer, but that's what the dryer is right now. It won't be like that when the storm passes by. So really big concerns. Obviously, another concern is shear, but obviously dryer is the biggest concern. We saw this dryer's major right now, but when this storm passes by, it completely falls apart. So dryer is kind of the biggest threat, but if it falls apart, I mean, there's really not a huge main concern that this thing will fall apart. Shear, no shear right now. Obviously, we have a little shear that goes to the south of the storm, but it's going to be less than 30 knots. I think this storm could withstand that. And then obviously kind of this shear goes to this shear goes to like 30 knots, like 10 knots, in like less than 24 hours. And then as the storm does near the Lesser Antilles, as you see, there's a ton of shear that's to the north, but look at the low pressure. It's right there, but there's all the shear is north and not even affecting the low pressure. So that's the thing. And then obviously it goes in the Caribbean. So shear is not a main concern. It's actually not really a concern whatsoever. Dryer is a concern, but if this dryer does weaken the way it shows, I don't think this will be a big threat. GFS, look at that vortex signature right now. That's mental. And then as you see, it continues going to tropical Atlantic, kind of falls apart, but pops back up in the Lesser Antilles. So maybe this dryer may get to it for a little bit, and then it redeem itself. So guys, that will wrap up the video. Hope you guys did enjoy this video on 95L. Could possibly become Josephine. I know conditions aren't the most favorable, but they are really getting a lot more favorable as we speak. This storm's getting a lot more organized. Satellite imagery could be closing off in the next coming days, maybe 2 days. Could very well be closed up at that time, which will obviously keep that dry air out. And that dry air is not even close to being seen anytime at this moment, so it has plenty of time, no pressure on the storm. So yeah, really monitor it very closely, and I'll have multiple updates on this as we go on. Bye, guys.